Get on board the Bernier bus train. Come get on board the Bernier bus train. Once you hear that clickety-clack, there ain't no time for turning back. Go get on board the Bernier bus train. Good morning, USA, and welcome to another episode of the Bernier Bus Show. We're going to get started this morning with Tim Black talking about racial justice. Here is Charles Blow on Instagram from Tim Black's show, talking about profiling, racial profiling in police work. Also, this is going to relate to Bloomberg's throwing his hat into the ring for president.
Looked at this, and there were people who had been stopped dozens and dozens and dozens of times. Never did anything wrong. And I'm raising two boys in this city, and you're petrified because you're thinking, am I training them well enough to deal with that encounter with the police? Because it is not officer friendly. Stop you. It's not Andy Griffin or somebody from your, happy television show Cop, right? This is intense. You are powerless. You are humiliated. You are angry. You can do nothing. You try to resist it. That actually is a crime. You try to resist it, you could lose your life. It's interesting how people who basically have no skin in the game, literally have no skin in the game. It's never going to happen to you. It's never going to happen to your kids. You never have thought about it happening to your kids. How could it? They're innocent. They're doing nothing wrong. No one would ever do that, right? Right. You have no skin in the game. You have to talk to some of these kids who this happened to. I had listened to one kid talk at a gala. It was a young man. For whatever reason in his family, he was taking care of his younger brother and sister. They were in his care. He was a caregiver, primary caregiver. And it happened multiple times. I think he was part of the actual suit that they filed and was the stop offense was found unconstitutional. And he goes through what one of those felt like. He had to leave the house at night. He went to get milk or something. Our kids need things. And he stopped in the middle of that process of getting to the store. And his stop is on the ground. And they feel everything. And, they think, they might stash jugs in between their buttocks. So they're in between your buttocks. You're on the ground. You did nothing wrong. You have to get milk. The kids are at home. And they find nothing, of course. And he says they don't even say anything. They just get back in the car. He stays on the ground until they drive away. And he has to get back up and recompose himself. And continue to the store and get that milk.
No, I've never felt that. I've never had to deal with that.
Yeah, it's one of the sad realities of being someone who tries to speak truth to power, and you want to fight for justice, and you're a political commentator, an analyst, or maybe you're an activist. And the reality is that there are no perfect parties. But there are definitely those in the liberal set, those on the left, who consider themselves on the left. I would argue that they're not leftists at all. There's something else. In another time, they'd be Republicans. But they don the veneer of Democrats, and they like to say that they are, liberal. Who would suggest that Michael Bloomberg would be a great candidate because he's so pragmatic. The fact is, a lot of people don't care about the same things some of us care about. Nor can they see how even a policy that was ruled unconstitutional, because it infringed upon the rights of citizens who are children and young people and adults who pay taxes in this country, who fought in this country, whose parents have fought in this country, brought land in this country, raised children in this country, taxpaying citizens of this country who should be afforded all the rights, are being focused on, singled out, and harassed daily. And Charles Blow goes on to make an excellent case for what it mentally does to a child who's supposed to look at cops as my protector. That's how you're supposed to see a cop.
Now, when you look at this Facebook page, I'm building up to this Facebook group I just found. My membership is pending. Bernie or bust, revolution won Trump's vote. So he's talking about people who could support Michael Bloomberg, because billionaires who are out of touch, who are pragmatic. So this person, Sherry Mueller-Ho, says, 3 judges made this determination. Just like HRC's emails were a relentless character assault nothing burger. Oh yeah, nothing burger. Like the Podesta emails, that's what she's talking about. So were the endless accusations that somehow Democrats had the power to rig, in quotes, rig the 2016 primary election. None of it is true. Let that propagandistic bullshit go now, or you will be duped into whipping up mindless hate for the next target chosen for you by craven, self-serving power lusters, both domestic and foreign, leading up to one of the most critical elections of our lifetimes. Wasserman Schultz is exonerated. Oh my goodness. And this whole Facebook group is the people that Tim Black is criticizing here, who could even consider for a moment Michael Bloomberg.
Hey, she wasn't taken out of context.
No. Let's hear the rest of what he said here. Here we go.
You're supposed to see a police officer and be like, man, there's a cop over there. We good. Because the cop is supposed to protect you, but that's not the reality for a lot of us, right? When we see police, we don't think that. Now, I know that crosses racial lines, right? You know, but the bottom line is, more often than not, white folks just feel like cops, you know, if they get a bad cop, they're surprised. If I get a bad cop, I'm not surprised. If I get a good cop, I'm surprised. Surprised? And I've gotten some good cops. And I've gotten some bad cops. And when I've gotten the good cops, I've been like, damn, that was a good cop. Baby, that was a good cop we just got, man. Wow. He ain't make me get on the ground or nothing in front of my kids. He didn't pull his gun on me or nothing.
Yeah.
He's not supposed to pull his gun on you. He's not supposed to humiliate you in front of your children and your wife. But that's how I feel every time, even now. Grown-ass man with gray in my beard, covered up with coloring, dye. I still feel fortunate when I'm not humiliated to that extent. So, Michael Bloomberg should not be. And look, and this is not just for Michael Bloomberg, but I put out a tweet and I said it, guys. I don't think any former prosecutor should be the Democratic nominee.
That's a good point.
Black people have done too much. If it wasn't for black people, Democrats would never be elected.
That's
ever.
a good point.
Ever.
It's true.
White people never elect Democrats. Black people elect Democrats. Do you understand? Democratic Party owes their existence to black people. They don't act like it.
They don't act like it.
So based on that alone, I say we should never elect a prosecutor whose job was, I don't care, I'm just doing my job. I just did what I was told to do. I don't care. No prosecutor should ever be Democratic nominee, not a party that's been built off the blood and sweat and toil and votes of black people. Not the way we get incarcerated.
Yep.
Not the way that system's set up. I mean, we agree the system's jacked up. We agree the system's not fair. And it's not fair to who? Black people and poor people. Black people happen to be the poorest people in the country. So then, okay, so he says if you can even think for a moment about Bloomberg as a viable candidate because he supported stop and frisk, then you're missing the point. And pragmatic, he also makes the point that Donald Trump is president not because he has a lot of money. People think maybe to defeat Donald Trump we need somebody with a lot of money. Tim Black came out and said the reason Donald Trump was elected is because he has spoken truth to power.
Now, he's a liar. He's a pathological liar, but he does, the way he lies, he's criticizing people. The truth part is that he's actually skewering people who deserve to be skewered. And he says, drain the swamp, and that's what needs to happen, whether he intends to or not. But what he speaks is encouraging for poor people. And so poor people, poorly educated people all over the country bought into that, still buy into that. And so if you want to combat Donald Trump, if you want to put somebody up against him who could defeat him, it has to be a populist. It has to be somebody who is perceived to be speaking truth to power. And so then he goes on and talks about Elizabeth Warren. He says, Elizabeth Warren isn't that person. We're talking about South Carolina. Should South Carolina be moved to the front of the order because South Carolina has so many people of color versus Iowa and New Hampshire who are predominantly white? I don't know what I just did there. There we go.
It's not my commentary. It's not my opinion. It's nothing to do with any of us watching. This is Elizabeth Warren being Elizabeth Warren. Amy Goodman said, hey, America is a diverse country. It's got white people and black people and Latino people and Asian people, Native American people. We've got all flavors of indigenous people. We got all these flavors of people. But by and large, based on the way, the order in which our primaries are arranged in the Democratic Party, the decision about who becomes a viable candidate is left in the hands of just one demographic primarily. Wouldn't it be a little more fair if the demographics were more like America? You heard Elizabeth Warren. Hold on, let me stop.
I'm just a player, she said. I'm just a player in the game. If I can get to that. Yeah, here it is.
Before you finish, are you actually going to ask me to sit here and criticize Iowa and New Hampshire?
No, I'm asking about the order.
No, that is what Iowa and New Hampshire
let me
are
just
all about.
ask. They're two of the whitest states in the country, and then we move to South Carolina with a very significant population of people of color. And it means the candidates spend so much of their time catering to those first two states. Overall, do you think that should change?
Look, I'm just a player in the game on this one. And I am delighted to be in South Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
She's so good at not answering questions. And for Tim Black, and for anybody who cares about poor people, poorly educated people, for minorities, for young people too. Young people are getting treated terribly. That's not Elizabeth Warren, and that's not the people in this group that are. And if you want to go there, I would love it if you could join this group and weigh in on things. It's called Bernie or Bust, in quotes, Revolution Won Trump's Vote. And I'll put the link to this group in the information section below. What we've got is a bunch of pragmatic, centrist, elitist Democrats, who in other times would have been called Republicans, who don't care about poor people, who don't care about people of color for sure, who don't care about racial profiling in police work, who don't care about the prison industrial complex, just to name a few things. But when Tim Black speaks truth to power, he's speaking about the issues that affect him directly, and we all need to listen. If you want to be an activist, that's the word he was using. If you want to be an activist who gives a shit about your fellow humans, then the traditional way of the Democrat, the DNC traditional way of thinking, the pragmatic, centrist, incrementalist way of thinking isn't going to do anything. Yesterday I was saying that Elizabeth Warren's healthcare plan, she has things built in on purpose to fail. She's got it set up so that the money is tied to immigration and other things that are contentious. She's setting it up, and this was on Crystal Ball the hill rising with a political commentator who was making excellent points about how she's got it set up in advance to be contentious. If it weren't for the Republican Party, Democrats wouldn't be able to do what they do, which is they have plans that they never intend to achieve. If the Republicans weren't there to stop their plans, they would be in big trouble because their donors would stop supporting them. If they ever actually intended to get anything done, it would be all over. Elizabeth Warren does not intend to get anything done, and she doesn't care about people of color. I'm pretty sure. And as you look at the finger waving, and she doesn't intend to do anything about big money either. She is controlled opposition, and she is stealthy, and she is perfectly positioned to try to steal as many of Bernie Sanders' voters as possible. And so when you look at the people in the Bernie or bust revolution won Trump's vote, if you don't like Trump that much, there's one answer. Get on board the Bernie or bust train, or you're going to have Trump again. If you're really serious about not wanting Donald Trump, there's only one way to do it, because the people who have been harmed the most over the last 60 or 70 years of neoliberalism, they're just not going to be helped by you, by the people that you would nominate, that you would anoint. And the Clinton machine isn't helping. And when you're exonerating Debbie Wasserman Schultz and you're saying that Hillary's emails were a nothing burger and all the other garbage, if you're trying to prop up Obama's legacy, you're barking up the wrong tree. It's unconscionable. You don't care about regular working class people. If you did, you could in no way support not only Bloomberg, but neither could you support Biden, Kamala Harris, any prosecutor. You can't, and you can't support Elizabeth Warren. And Tim Black, he's right on all of these. He says there are lots of other candidates I could support, and their names are all Bernie Sanders. And in this election cycle, that's how I feel too. So keep on speaking, Tim. We're right behind you. We're right with you. I'm a subscriber to your show. I'm proud of your message, and I don't have the skin in the game that Charles Blow is talking about, but I am an activist, and I do want a country that works for all of its people. And so as much as I'm able, I'm on your team. And I believe that you're on my team too. I'll tell you my story on a different show. The way neoliberalism has harmed me and the way it's harmed higher education. I've shared that on a few other shows so far. But for today, we'll leave it here. Keep on burning. I hope to see you tomorrow.
Get on board the Bernie or bust train. Come get on board the Bernie or bust train. Once you hear that clickety-clack, there ain't no time for turning back. Go get on board